Mr. Chairman, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think that we all feel sufficiently warmly welcome to Stockholm. I think you have also chosen the best part of the year to meet here in our beautiful capital. First of all, I would like to convey a greeting from my former colleagues in the Swedish government. We are eager to make the best possible climate for mergers and acquisitions in our country. We have a very strong track record and we have very strong players here, and I'm sure that you will accomplish what is the theme of this seminar, to get a deal done here in Stockholm. Well, the short version of my intervention is that the business climate and the outlook for Nordic business is good. Not bad, would Brits say, in their more controlled ways when they are expressing their feelings outside the football stadiums. But it is good, really. We can be proud. Sweden is competitive. We have very good players in this field. I was myself responsible for the divestment of some state-owned companies during the last period. And we really did good business, I think, both for those who bought these companies, but also for the taxpayers. If you take one example, the Vin & Sprit, producer of the world-famous Absolute Vodka, among others, but also the owner of Winston Churchill's gin brand, Plymouth Gin, owning also the famous brand of from the American Virgin Islands, Imperium of alcohol. It was a little bit contradictory, the Swedish state trying, when we entered into the European Union, saying the Swedes are very sensitive people. They cannot take so much alcohol that you would like us to import. They were laughing at us and said, you are trying to drown us in vodka. The Swedish state owning this company. Well, we sold the company. It was profitable, yes. 800 million was the profit coming to the Swedish taxpayers the last fiscal year. 800 million. But compared to the diminished interest rate payment of 2.2 billion, when we got some 60 billion Swedish crowns when we sold the company, of course it was much better business for the Swedish taxpayers than running a vodka factory. The buyers, Pernod Ricard, had something that the Swedish taxpayers didn't have, a distributor network worldwide, and could increase the production and could be more profitable. So that is an example of a very good M&A. But if we look a little bit to the figures, GDP was up 2.9% for the Nordic region, saving the Baltic countries. Sweden's GDP advanced by 5.5% last year. But if you look at April this year, GDP was up 6.4% compared to April 2010. You must also be aware of that still unemployment is too high, 7.9%. But the forecast is very encouraging. We are coming down to figures that we have not seen for decades for year 2015. We don't see a jobless growth. We see that jobs are coming. We see also that inflation is under very good control, even though that we saw figures of 3.3%. But that was mainly due to strongly increased raw material prices, and they are now coming down, as you may all be aware of. Not quite a tiger economy. No, but those in the OECD familiar with Astrid Lindgren's stories have compared our economy to with Pippi Longstocking, a girl that is strong enough to lift a horse. And I think what we are looking to now, I think the whole of Europe can see that Swedish economy is growing very rapidly, that our state finances are not only under control, we have a surplus already this year. How many countries in the OECD can show a surplus in their public finances? Sweden does, and we also managed the financial crisis in a much better way than most of other countries. Well, Perhaps you're not interested in another sales pitch about Swedish economy for investments on. You would also look to like at the flip side. Well, I think that is too much to ask for a person coming from one of the ruling parties. But if you invite the opposition, you would hear how bad things really are in this country. So that's perhaps an advice for next time. Well, I think if you look to the projected growth this year, it's close to 5%. And Finland has had a tough time, shrinking 8.1% 2009, but this neighbor of ours is now picking up and will grow somewhere between 3 and 4% this year, and that's not bad. I think it's very good compared to the situation. Trade and balance of payment figures looks good, and our public finances, as I said, are in really good shape. I think also we can say that Sweden, by and large, had a positive development from the mid-90s till today. But it has not always been like that. If you go back to year 1970 to 1995, the development was very poor compared to the US and most other also European countries. Open unemployment was low, but hidden unemployment was not low. It was very high at that time. And in the early 90s, when I, the first time was member of a government as Minister for Transport and Communications, we had an explosion of unemployment. We had a very big crisis. I'm not saying that I was responsible for that, but it coincided with being a member of the Bildt government. The other side of that coin was that as a Minister of Transport and Communications, we got lots of money for building new roads and railroads at that time. We attributed that to the former government's bad management. And that is also exactly what we hear now from Greece. Well, our alliance of 4 non-socialistic parties, we won the elections 2006 on a promise to uncover and do something about hidden unemployment. Some people are too sick, of course, to work, but we were sure that a lot more could be at a job. And I think a combination of tightening the social security systems and lowering income taxes for normal people has really made a miracle to our economy and to people. Some 200,000 people are back from long time sickness leave into the working market, and also some 50,000 from early pensions are back in a place where they have people to work together with and take a cup of coffee, not only sit at home and wait for what? People are back, and also the state have saved some 30 billions by this combination of tightening the social security system and lowering income taxes that give incentives for people to work. I think we are more dependent on outside world than large countries. Also, I think of loyalty with other EU members, we are concerned with what happens both economically and socially in countries like Greece, Portugal, Ireland, and so on. We are also concerned about what is happening to the IMF. An interregnum during this serious phase of time is not good, but I think they will manage it. There is a calmer but still change of guards also in the ECB for this time being. And Greece has an indebtedness rate to close to 150% of GDP and increasing. I think all of us know what that means. But how many of us know what should be done about it? It's a very tricky situation. I mean, in the first place, to enter the Eurozone on false premises must cost dearly. Bailout conditions have also been quite tough, and I say will be even tougher in the future. It will not be cheap to not be careful with your economy and with your figures and with your statistics. Well, restructuring a country like Greece. I mentioned that I've been responsible for divesting state-owned companies. Yes, I think the Greek people have to do that. And it's fairly easy to divest a telecom company, but I think rather difficult to dump Piraeus harbor on the market, politically at least, and perhaps also in the real economy to do things like that. There are buyers, of course, but the political price for those who try to do this kind of M&As is going to be very high, I think. So it's not easy. Well, another problem is what we saw in Germany the other day, or the other night, I would say, where some politicians met in a dark room and decided to shut all the German nuclear power plants. That is an easy, perhaps easy thing to decide. You know, we also have a hate-love story with nuclear power in Sweden. I should say that the nuclear power question has poisoned Swedish domestic policies for 40 years. And we decided in a referendum in 1980 that to close all Swedish nuclear power plants to 2010, last year. But we should complete and construct all 12 plants and then start to dismantle them. How intelligent, isn't it? First decide, okay, we will build all of them and then we will stop them. What we did, we stopped 2 of them in the southern part of Sweden, where we now have a shortage of electricity. And believe what is going to happen when the Germans are going to buy what is left of electricity from everywhere. This is, of course, a problem. I'm sure that the price of electricity will rise rather sharply, not only in Germany, but also in the Nordic markets. And that is a very big problem. Not to say that this is a damage also to the environment, because what is going to happen is that the Germans are going to burn much more coal and import. They have now already completed the gas line from Russia to Germany. So, of course, we all know that Germans are very decisive and very industrious, and I think they are going to solve this, absolutely, but at a rather high cost for their neighbors. Well, to end, those of you interested in getting a deal done in Sweden should remember that our taxes are high. Yes, they are high, but they are coming down. And despite of our high taxes, we are competitive. Swedish products are sold like never before on the export markets. And we have very strong brands. We have a very good position, our economy, our growth, and I think Sweden is a very attractive country to do business in. We have an effective administration, and we have also competent agencies, and that's not everywhere in the world you find such competent agencies that we have in Sweden, even if some of you may have had something to quarrel about our tax organizations. I could imagine that. Well, we have also a stable political system, and for the next 3 years, at least 3.5, a market-oriented government coalition. Thank you for listening.